Just adjusting some settings over here. Whew, and now I'm getting hot. All right, here we are again. Welcome to Shakti Living, episode number 2 for those of you at home who are listening by Apple, Spotify. Welcome to my second podcast, and for all my YouTube viewers, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate the support. I was actually shocked how much support I got this last time. I'm pretty chill, y'all. I'm always in yoga pants, so I hope you are enjoying that I'm so casual, because I want to really have these adult conversations. Tonight we're going to be talking about motherhood, tantric motherhood for myself personally, but also kind of the fall of motherhood and what's going on with that. What do we think it is? And the tantric perspective on it, because I'm a tantric therapist, and so that's the angle that really sets me apart. A lot of other tantra coaches that are really famous on these platforms, the one thing I've noticed is that this is the topic that doesn't get covered because none of the tantra masters have children, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm kind of the black sheep of the family because I wasn't supposed to have a child. So if you stay to the end, I'm going to, of course, give you a little sneak peek of what's to come for our next session, and I'll have another piece of goodie information for you along the realms of tantric motherhood and tantric femininity. So even if you're a guy watching this, I imagine that you're probably heterosexual and you're probably going to get married, have a spouse, have a woman in your life, or maybe you already have one. So I think it's an important thing to still listen to and still be keen on, even if you're not a woman. If you are a woman, then this show is for you. So I thought this statistic was really quite interesting. If you're from the red pill world, you hear these stats all the time, but I really wanted to look some up myself. So in 2022, there were 21.9 million women between the ages of 20 and 39 who had not given birth in the US. Now that's 4.7 million more childish women of prime childbearing ages that would have been expected given fertility patterns prior to the Great Recession. And so they were saying that it's 2.1 million more than it was in 2016. So this is a little confusing. 2.1 million more childless women than from 2016. And we know that pattern is just set to continue to simply just go up more, but not in the good way. Go up meaning more millions of childish women. In the next 10 years, they have said that there will be more childless, single, unmarried women than any other time on the planet. That's crazy. And so if you have a child, then you understand the value of what being a mother or a father does for you in your life as a human being, as someone who wants to grow and excel as a person. So parenting, and in this case motherhood, is my greatest accomplishment, meaning it's a thing that I believe catapulted my personal development, my growth, and also my small success and wins that I've had in life. I attribute from being a mother. So I'm gonna just pop up here because I liked better this angle when I was sitting up here, guys. I'm a yogi, so I like to have pillows and cushions behind me. I want to be comfortable so that I can focus on you. All right, so now we're gonna get started. So a lot of you tuned in for my first official podcast, if you will, where I was talking about Tantra and kind of a little bit about my past, why I do what I do now, why I'm a Tantra therapist, and what I do, who I serve, and why you should be interested. So today I'm going to do the same thing, talking about the benefits of, for myself personally, tantric motherhood, but motherhood as a whole for women. And I'm going to talk about why women, I believe women really aren't doing it. What are some of the challenges that I experienced? What are some of the growths that I had? And what I want to do to encourage other women to kind of follow in that footsteps in regards to being a mother, but still doing it consciously from, in my case, a tantric perspective, and how these are things that you can do with your child as well. If you already have kids, that you can encourage, if you're a mom, or you can encourage your child's mom to start implementing some of these things to have more well-rounded, more healthy, more happy, and more socially apt children, humans that we're bringing into this world, who are going to be the people who are ruling the world eventually, right? So I'm going to start off by just sharing a little bit about my story and how I became a mother. And obviously you guys know how, right? But what are the implications of tantric motherhood? How I kind of went against the grain, because this is really what I always do. I like to do exactly the opposite of what society tells me to do. So if this is you, then you can relate, you can understand what I mean when I say I took the road less traveled. And I think a lot of us today are doing that, whether it's from our entrepreneurial space or from our mindset or how we're raising our family or what we're putting into our body. These are all things that I wanted to be a renegade in, and I absolutely did that. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of Tantra and how I conceived my son, even though I wasn't trying, and I know that sounds crazy, but it wasn't like in my life plan, and I wasn't like I was, oh, like this is the time to have a child, but the power of the work I was doing is what really helped me to bring my son into the world. So when I was studying in Thailand at the ashram at my Tantra school, there was so many children kind of just like running around with their parents were in some kind of training. And I remember the person that I was dating at that time, he had a child, and he was like this mixed child. He was beautiful. He was Brazilian and African American, or African. And I just thought, this little boy is the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. And I was just like, I want one of him. Literally, I remember having these thoughts and these dreams and these like, this is what I'm gonna have. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna raise him here. He's gonna be a jungle boy. He's gonna be doing yoga. He's gonna be, doing meditations. He's going to be here with me in this place. Because to be honest with y'all, I never planned on leaving Thailand. I never planned on leaving the island, the ashram where I taught, or where I learned, where I got my training, where I taught under my gurus for another 6 months after my training. I never was planning to leave. I was in paradise there. I was around like-minded people. We were all yogis, we're all tantrics and tantrikas. And it was like really what I envisioned for my life. And I thought, I'll bring a son into this world. But it wasn't like what I saw in the absolute near future. However, some of the work that we do as tantrics and as tantrics and tantrikas and tantra masters is we play with sexual energy. So we sort of take energy, because remember, matter can't be created or destroyed. It just kind of morphs into something else, right? So energy is something that we like to play with. And the sexual energy being the most powerful of energies, because it creates what? It creates life. So we really take that energy and we kind of move it into whatever we want. We sort of shape shift it. And so we took sexual energy and we create matter. And so a lot of people, and it's called many different things. You've heard of it called orgasmic manifestations or sexual sex magic. You've heard, there's a few different names. And so of course I was practicing this while I was there. Who wouldn't, right? If you can use the power of your climax to create things that you want in your life, why not, right? And so I jumped on this bandwagon and was creating and was very much so conscious that I was creating more abundance in my life and creating just whatever I wanted, like this mind movie, this trailer of my life. And so I had a specific practice, a tantric practice of what I would create in those moments of climax. And so I was doing all this work, long story short. And I got pregnant, and I took all the precautions actually to not get pregnant. I don't want to go into detail, but when I tell you, like, my son shouldn't be here, but he's here, that's how powerful sex magic is, and orgasmic manifestation, orgasmic creation is. And so when I got pregnant, and this is kind of hard to talk about, I went to my gurus and I went to my master teachers in the Tantra ashram, and I told them, hey guys, like, I'm pregnant. Now, let me explain to you why this was a complete no-go. For those of you men who are watching and are interested in semen retention, you're going to understand why. And on one of the next, I'm doing a couple of episodes on mothers because Mother's Day is coming up. So my next 2 or 3 topics will be on mothers. But then after that, we're going to do, I'll tell you what it is going to be at the end. So you got to stay tuned. And if I haven't told you this, which I forgot because I jumped into this quickly, please, if you're not already, y'all, like this right now. Leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from. Hi, Michael. Hi. I can't pronounce your name, but I see you with the yellow profile picture. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this. Please turn on your notifications, all those things. I've been working to get my channel back in the algorithm. So I have one tweak that I know is going to work. And so we're going to be implementing this. And as I mentioned on my first podcast, that we're going to be filming twice a week. So twice a week, I'm here with you Wednesday and Saturday. Or was that Sunday? Anyways, twice a week, and you'll see it. So, so that's what we're doing. So basically, semen retention is a tantric practice. Now, I'm going to give you just a quick overview, and then we're going to do a whole podcast on this in the next like 3 podcasts, 3 or 4. So there's a difference between semen retention, edging, and no fapping, and tantric semen retention, right? These are 4 different entities, but a bunch of YouTube University, young bucks and people started this whole trend on no fapping, and oh yeah, you're no fapping, and oh, I hope I can still say that, oh my God, edging and semen retention and blah, blah, blah. And they really thought they knew what it meant, but they had no clue exactly what it meant. But I do, and I will share that with you. So you have to turn on notifications so you can see when this is coming, because I promise you there's not any content like this on the internet, unless it's some of my male tantric colleagues. But other than that, nobody gives this information out unless you come to a retreat. So turn on your notifications. But so for tantric men, they retain their semen always and forever. Like, they do not ever have sexual intimate times where they release, where they fully climax. They climax, but it's in a different way. So they retain their semen, they retain their seed. And so for the tantrics, they view motherhood as the ultimate sin, because not motherhood, but the practice of letting yourself get pregnant, essentially, for both the man and the woman. Because for the man, it shows that he doesn't have control over his body or his mind or his semen. And so he's not brahmacharya, which is a whole nother thing. And I'm not getting into that tonight. And for a woman, if she gets pregnant, it shows that she doesn't have the wherewithal to understand that her sexual vitality, her life force, is what's keeping her on this planet. And when you lose your life force, you eventually cross to the other side. So if you're giving birth, what is that? What is that? Like, just the concept of being pregnant. You are growing someone inside of you. So you're feeding them, you're nurturing them, you're giving them, your food is literally feeding them, and you're maintaining another human being for 9 months. And then postpartum, you're nursing, hopefully, the child for at least a year, let's hope, You know, myself, I did it for 7 years. So that's a whole nother story, a whole nother show, podcast rather. So that takes a lot of what? Tell me if you know, so it's saying I have a message for review. Let's see. Mama Melf, where do you see your dating? Where do you see dating in the year 2030? Okay, great. Can I show this? I don't know why. Oh, it's probably because of the error. Try again. It's not letting me show that comment. I'm so sorry, whoever sent that, because that's a great question. I'm going to answer that. So, okay. So basically, you're using life force to keep this baby alive in utero and postpartum when you're nursing. It's a lot of energy. And so it's an energy loss for a woman. And for a man, I mean, he has some sleepless nights, but it's a different energy loss for him. His energy loss comes the moment he loses his semen. For women, it's the moment she, you know, gets pregnant and then carries the baby and then nurse gives birth. That is a lot. Remember, you lose a lot of blood. The life force is in the blood. So for a woman, it's like the ultimate sin, if you will. And I felt very passionate about having my child, even though I knew what I was doing breaks like all the tantric rule books on being a good tantra master, being a good tantrika, like to have a child went against all that. But I knew within my soul that like he was supposed to be in this world. And my son literally changed the trajectory of my life forever in the ways you would notice, obviously, that you would think of if you are a parent, but also in the ways that you couldn't imagine. And so for me, when I made this decision to tell my, you know, my gurus and my teachers, like, I'm having this child, it was a big, like, I was met with so much resistance. And to be honest, I actually hid my pregnancy for the first trimester and the first entire trimester, I told no one. And I know sometimes that's customary, but like, I just didn't have any support because I felt like this was a decision. I was going against everything I had learned. I was going against what my teachers believed. But I knew I was supposed to have my son. So I want to talk about, that's the tantric perspective. Now I want to talk about how motherhood is changing today, a little bit why it's changing, and some of the practices that I did that helped me 10x my personal development as a tantric mother. So, and the question about dating, where do I see dating in the year 2030? I'll get to at the very end because I just don't want to lose my train of thought. All right. So I decided to have my son. I became a mom. Actually, you know, I had natural birth. I used tantric practices to really help facilitate that. That will be a whole nother show, podcast. And I breastfed for an extended amount of time. And what happened actually during birth was, you know, the most profound experience of my life. I had like an awakening, if you will. And again, I'll save the details of that for another show because I want to focus a little bit more on motherhood as a whole and what's happening to it and why women aren't doing it and the practices you can do at home if you are a woman to kind of embody that energy now as someone who wants to be a mom. So the one thing I will say about motherhood is that it completely is the most selfless thing you can do. And so that's my number one reason why I believe that women aren't being mothers today. They're selfish. And I'm just giving you reasons. I'm not going to say good, bad, or other. I'm just saying they're selfish. It's a woman's world today. Women want to be what they want to be. They want to do everything the way they want to do it. They don't necessarily want a man to tell them what to do. If you have a child, you're locked in. You can't just, for instance, myself, I can't just go anywhere on a whim. For instance, I had someone who was quite smitten with me, and, you know, he moved overseas to Dubai. And I can't just like move to Dubai without thinking about my son, right? So as a mom, you can't just do whatever the F you want to do whenever you want to do it. And that's what women want to do today. And that's why there's so much resistance in the dating world today, because women really want to do what they want to do. A man, of course, is the more dominant masculine energy, or should be, and he has an agenda. If you have two people with their own agendas, not willing to give, and the women saying, you know, me first, then you have a disaster, right? It should be the woman puts the man's partner needs before hers and vice versa, and they meet in the middle. That's how it should be in a relationship. We know it's not like that. So motherhood is like a giant no-no, because for women, they have to be selfless. Giving birth, being pregnant is, you have to be selfless. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. Giving birth, again, it's just not, it's not something that you want to do every day. It does change your body. It changes your hair, your skin, your boobs, your waist, you know, some women get stretched. It's just, it wreaks havoc on the body. Even the most healthy women, I gained the 30-pound limit. I barely gained whatever the weight I was supposed to gain, exactly that, not a pound more. And I had the most seamless natural childbirth you could imagine. But it still changed my body. It changed my hair, it changed my skin. It's you know, it sucks, but it's a small price to pay, right? To have a part of you that you leave in the world when you pass on, and you get to nurture this human, and you get to pour love and life into him. And so anyway, so number one reason is selfish. Number two reason is it takes a strong commitment. And I don't think that women have that commitment urge anymore. Like, they want the idea of having a man who spoils them, who remember the 6 over 6 feet, makes over 6 figures, has a 6-pack, he's not overweight, isn't married, all this. I say 6 inches or more, right? That was my Shakti's take on it. But it's a commitment to be a mom. And so if women, it's kind of in line with the selfish, but it's like, I can't just pack up and go to Coachella, even though I would never go to Coachella. That's like my worst nightmare. Any of those places. What's the other one in the desert? Burning Man. Like, no, I wouldn't do it. But I know a lot of people are doing that right now. I can't just say, all right, I'm going. It's a commitment and dedication to raise your child in a way that you don't pass the child off and let the government raise them. Like, my son is schooled privately at home, online. And I cook his own food, and I nursed him till he was almost 7, or till he was 7. Truthfully, he wanted to nurse longer. So these are all things that are selfless and take a huge amount of commitment. But we know that women don't really even want to fully commit to men today, right? They don't want to commit to give you their number on dating apps, on Hinge, on Bumble. How long will they go back and forth where they're just texting, text buddies before you get a date? We know what happens, right? Women won't commit to a date with you when you finally get her number. So it's like, they don't want to commit to that. Why do they want to commit to having children, right? It's a huge commitment. It's an investment of time. It's an investment of energy. It's basically saying, I can't put myself first anymore. My child has to come first. And if they have a spouse, of course, my spouse and my child. So that's two people kind of before you, even though obviously you take care of yourself. It's just, women don't want to do it today. Why is that? Women want to, the main reason I believe from the studies that it said is that obviously there's greater opportunity for employment. Today, women are more educated than any other time before. They have more jobs, job opportunities. Their jobs are now even outranking men. Even though some of those things, it's never going to equalize where there's more women CEOs. That I don't believe that will ever happen. But we do know that there are more women in the workplace today. Women are getting better jobs than men at some times. Women have more career opportunities. And it's fun. It's fun to make a lot of money and to not have any cares in the world, to go out and have dates, have men take you places and buy you things and do things like this, and then You don't have to get married. You don't have to get kids. You don't have to keep a home because that's not required of you anymore. You can just be successful as a working woman, as a modern woman, as a boss babe. That is now the trend. And I am not saying that women shouldn't be in the workplace today. I mean, if it were ideal, perhaps, you know, a man is making enough money to take care of you and children. But we know today that that's not the case unless the man is in like the top 1% or upper 10%. And if you're living in the US, that is, and especially if you're not living in middle America, if you're living in one of the out states like Florida, California, New York, these places, it's very expensive to live. So you do need often two people in the workplace, but it still isn't negating the fact that today women love being, you know, making money, being single, having freedom, and those attributes are like very masculine. It's like they want to be in control of everything and committed to nothing, right? So again, the top reasons would be commitment, being selfish, not wanting to commit. And a lot of that stems from the education and the employment opportunities that women have that they didn't have 50 years ago. So you see this influx of women foregoing marriage, foregoing childbirth, and the rate of women, the older, I'm trying to say this, okay, women are progressively having children older if they do opt to have them. Because why? They're in school, they're getting their career started. And so I'm advocating for women to have children and to have healthy children, even into their 30s, 40s. But that takes a very specific like protocol of how you take care of your body to make sure that you're healthy enough and that you're fertile enough and that you haven't been on a bunch of synthetic estrogens and that you don't have, you know, just a completely imbalanced hormone system because you've been on birth control all your life, right? And because you've been exposed to high estrogens and lots of plastics and things like that. And you're eating mostly like a meat-based diet and things of that nature that's more acidic to the body. And you're not doing crazy cold plunges that can harm your fertility. All the trends that women are doing today are actually making it harder for them to eventually have children if they decide another 10 years, oh my God, what was I thinking? I do want to have kids. Then for some of those women at that point, it's just too late, right? And so I think we have this interesting dynamic of masculine dominant women who have, you know, greatly benefited from the feminist movement, modern feminist movement, and they're boss babes, they're career women. They're selfish. They don't want the commitment and they want to just live their best life. But with all that being said, you know, motherhood has been my greatest like cheerleader in regards to the quality of my life and how I have overperformed what I knew was capable, what I thought previously I was capable of doing. So something happens to you when you become a mother. There's like an energy that when the soul enters your body, like you feel that, right? And then there's like an energy that comes in you after you give birth where it's like this essence of like, I don't want to say power because I think women are too powerful today. Women have overused the power that's been given to them by the modern feminist movement. So I'm saying Western women. We're not talking about women in Palestine or anything like that. That's a whole different story. So there's an energy shift. There's an essence that comes in you. And it's like this innate knowing, all knowing, this confidence, this nurturing, this essence of just, I know that my child is here as a extension of me. And there's like something in you that like develops. It's like another persona. It's another archetype of you. And it's just this like fierce, this fierce, embodied, nurturing, just force for good, force of nature, force of just femininity that can overtake anything that stands in your way. And I believe that when that came into me, I just saw things so much clearer. It's like things that I never understood before just became clear. Things that I thought were impossible all of a sudden became possible. When there was like a layer, like there's this level in you that just, it keeps expanding. It's like, okay, I'm tired. I can't. And then there's like another level that's like, no, I can do more. I can be more. I can give more. I can serve more. I can nurse my son another year because this is so good for his emotional well-being. I can, like all these things. And so for me, motherhood was like a 10x of my life. When I look back 10 years ago, the person I was, it's just like, it was me, but the version of me I am today, I have to say, was so much attributed to me becoming a mother, because there was this like drive, this passion, this persistence, this like nurturing force of femininity essence that like took over me and became this like, I will do anything to create and provide for my son. And I feel so sad in my soul that women miss out on this because they've been lied to, because they've been told that they don't need a man, they don't need to commit, their employment is more important, being independent is more important, having money, having cats, having toys, sex toys that turn on and off. These things are it. Going to Cabo with your friends is it. Going to Jamaica, going to the Bahamas, doing this, having a good body. Like, it's like, no, like these things are great, sure. But like being a being a mom trumps any of those things thousands of times. And I've been to those places. So I feel sad in my soul that women have lost this desire to like give birth. Like just the concept of like, I created a life and then I pushed that life out of my body and then I nurtured that life. And my son's just turned 9. He's like over 5 feet. He plays basketball. He's, he's empathetic. He's well-rounded. He's been all over the world. It's like, this is the part that saddens me. And I know it's this liberalist left modern feminist movement that has really pushed this. You can be fluid, you can be this, you don't need to. It's just, it deeply saddens me because I know I wouldn't be the woman I am today without my son, which makes me want to do this again. And so I am planning to have at least 1, maybe 2 more children in my 40s. And I know that is also taboo. And even though, yes, okay, so back to the tantric no-nos and what happened and how I did that, I did lose life force a lot. It took me a long time to feel normal again, especially because I nursed for such a long time. But it was absolutely worth it. And I would do it again because I have now created like this Shakti. It's like I became Shakti. I became this divine, fully receptive, highest ecstatic, most feminine force for good in the world because I became a mom. And so I want to encourage the moms out there to like own that and to not just say like, I'm just a mom. Like, you're more than that. You are a giver of life. Your yoni is a portal to the universe. Your yoni is a portal of life. It like serves life up on a platter. And then you nurture that child. That's you. And the importance of that process is just, I just can't tell you how it's not gratifying. It's just like, it's like I got to repair myself. I got to create life. I got to nurture life. And I got to 10x the impact I had on the planet, all from becoming a mother. And so many women are foregoing motherhood altogether. And so I feel like we're in a dire place because of this kind of mentality. And I just hope that we are on the trajectory to changing, to having that shift where we are embracing motherhood as a plus, not a minus, right? Now, The energy loss was huge. Did it halt my spiritual practice? Yes, it did. Because now I can spend 6 to 12 hours a day doing hatha yoga, doing tantric practices, doing meditation. You know, I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes in the morning and then a workout later. But I still am developing in a different light spiritually. It's just not at the level that I would be doing it if I didn't have a child, right? And so for me, those were like the toss-offs. I'm being very honest here. I'm not saying, oh yeah, it's been roses. Like, being a mother has been one of the most challenging things I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding. And I think that's the part that women forget about. So we have, you know, consumer society today, right? Where we know women spend emotionally. We know the advertisers really create and curate their content for women because we know women are in the most credit card debt. We spend emotionally. We want to buy. I follow a lot of influencers and their feeds of the single ones who aren't married and don't have children. It's just like unboxings, unwrappings of this store, this designer store, this designer, this, that. And it has become like the trend. It's like a flex. Like men flex their cars or their muscles. Women are now flexing how much shoes and jewelry and clothes they bought. And I'm just, and I see this and I'm like, wow, that's great that women can do that today. But they're missing so much more that is left from the absence of motherhood. And so to me, I believe the motherhood is like the highest calling. I believe it's like the most spiritual place that you can go because you're so connected to source, because you're creating life, which means you're connected to the divine. There's like a string that's like running through you because there's life and you're like, you're incubating it and then you're birthing it. And then you're continuing to give life, I mean, through your breast, through breastfeeding. So that is the major points that I wanted to cover on motherhood, tantric motherhood. Now, being a mom as a tantrika was interesting. There was a few practices that I did, and I told you I did natural childbirth. I used hypnobirthing. I used tantric practices. Yoni steaming was a huge practice that helped me to get my uterus, my womb back intact, and still helps me to maintain the elasticity of my yoni and the purity and the suppleness, the moisture, all the lubrication, all those things that you need to stay fertile is from yoni steaming. And yoni egg practice was a huge part of my pregnant yoni. I was doing yoni eggs, the practice, all the way up until I got pregnant. And that really helped to tone and strengthen the walls of my yoni to help with the contractions and to help me to be able to push and expand and things like that. Because yoni eggs, a lot of people feel like it's just tightening, but what it's doing is it's like creating a suppleness and a like a strength, but also a mobility and a flexibility, so that when you're working the walls around the yoni egg, it's creating a muscle, like muscle memory, but not so that it's just tight. It's creating that mobility, if you will, in the pelvic floor as well as in the yoni walls, so that when you are having sex and things, that you're able to experience more orgasmic potential because those walls are toned, and that's how you're able to climax. And it's the same thing with childbirth, having those toned walls so that you are able to have those contractions and things like that are able to flow. And then when the cervix opens, that it's the process, it's basically helping the process so that it's not as, I'm not going to say it's not painful, but it's not as an extreme of an experience as if someone whose walls are not toned, right? And has to go through a traumatic experience like their yoni walls and their cervix opening that way, right? But if we've worked them and toned them, then this is happening easier, if that makes sense, right? It's like someone who's never run, he just goes and runs a marathon. You're like, first of all, he probably can't do it. Second of all, he's going to be in a world of hurt. Now, running a marathon itself is going to be challenging, but the fact that you've trained for it, you've been in the gym and done some light weights and stretching, and you've run, it's going to be easier. So that's another huge practice that I did. Yoni eggs, Tantra, Yoni steaming, as well as just connection to my womb, to my uterus, and working with that energy with tantric practices by like pulling that energy up, releasing. And I mean, I'm doing it now. And so there's so much that helped me to prepare for the practice of motherhood, but also just giving birth from the tantric practice. Now, in regards to, we'll take a quick break because I'm going to wrap this, but I want to talk and I want to answer the question. Where do I see dating in 2030? Well, to be honest, I feel like there's a huge rise in the virtual reality sex worlds, if you know what I'm referring to, where people go into chat rooms and they're having sexual encounters virtually. Also some with the VR, my son has those, but I forget what they're called, the VR glasses. I believe that that's going to be more and more popular today as we become less and less more intimate. Intimate means closeness, connection, and proximity. We become more focused on work and advancing our careers, and we see that more men are going to OnlyFans and they are not exploring social dynamics as much. They're not dating, they're not having sex with women. We know the studies on that as well. And then women are really very career focused as well now. I feel like we're going to have so much more of a disconnect that it's going to take people further and further away from just real dates and real humanity and real connection and intimacy, and that they're going to start drifting into alternative options, which obviously, you know, there's toys, sexual toys that turn on and off. I don't want to say that word, but I think it's going to become more virtual like this, and they're going to go into those virtual reality sexual worlds and the rise of like the sex dolls and things like that. I feel like there will be more and more of that will happen as we're more focused on accumulating wealth and knowledge and becoming more scholastically educated and more career driven, that it doesn't leave much time for the intimacy and connection. And nobody is teaching this stuff. People aren't signing up for classes on intimacy. That's kind of funny, actually. So the less we know about it, the more we settle for the instant fix, the instant gratification of what feels good in the moment. And what can I do from my home? I can go into a virtual reality world. I don't have to connect with you. I don't have to even show you who I really am. I can be whoever I want to be in this virtual reality world and still have some kind of pleasure fix, a dopamine hit that makes me feel good, and I don't have to be vulnerable. I don't have to show up present. I don't have to invest my time, my energy, my resources. I don't have to get raw and real with you. I can stay masked, literally. So I think that that is going to be more of a trend in 2030 as we advance in technology. I feel like this is only going to get, that web is only going to get more and more intricate. And so I'll leave you guys with these parting words. As we get closer to Mother's Day, I think that it's really important for us as women to honor first of all our potential to be a mother. And so that means like taking care of our yoni, our womb, the way we take care of our body. You know, women today love to get fillers and Botox and facials, hydrofacials and extensions, and get their hair blown out and their nails and skins and all this wax and thread, all the stuff women do. I love some of it too, I'm not gonna lie. But I think an interesting concept might be like, how much time are you spending on your face and your hair and your nails and your body, your physical body, to look good and, you know, have a nice booty and all the things women want because of the Kardashians and everything that we see on reality TV. How much time do you actually spend on your womb? Like, what are you doing to take care of your womb? Are you steaming? Are you doing yoni eggs? Are you using yoni crystal wands versus a toy that turns on and off that totally is desensitizing you? Are you doing practice, sacred practice, where you connect with that part of you? Like, what are you doing to beautify your womb? Because this part is beautiful, but this part is the part that creates life, that connects you to your spouse, to your husband, to your partner, that takes you to ecstatic states, that takes you closer to God. And so I would challenge women to really take better care of their yonis over this next, week leading up to Mother's Day, so that you have the potential to be a mom if you want to, and if your mind suddenly gets changed. Because I love seeing that in women. I love seeing women come alive when they're pregnant, when they give birth, after they become a mom. It changes them, and it's so beautiful and contagious, and I know men love it. Yeah, when I was pregnant, I remember I would get hit on a lot. I thought it was so strange that men found me attractive like that, but it's like an essence of nurturing life and motherhood and femininity, and it's very, men love it, especially because a lot of men have not had such pleasant experiences with their mom, unfortunately. So as Mother's Day approaches, for women, let's take better care of our yonis. If you are curious about this practice, you have to click the link. I have a store, Shakti Living Store, where we have yoni steams, yoni wands, yoni eggs. We have everything for your yoni, to keep it tight, to keep it right, to keep it wet, to keep it fertile, all the things that you want, and really men want too. So it's a win-win. And for men, I think just honoring our moms and being so gracious, even if you didn't have the best relationship with your mom. When you heal the relationships with your family, you open the door to heal the relationships in your intimate sexual lives, whether it's with a current spouse or with a spouse you're trying to attract. So loving your mom, sending her a card, a handwritten note, showing up if she's close to you, flying to her if you have the means to do so, and just expressing the gratitude for the selfless act that she did of just giving you life. It's huge. And healing that relationship, honestly, energetically starts to open, because if you think everything is energy, the relationship with your mom should have been your primary, healthy relationship with a woman. And if you don't have that, then healing that helps to open the door for healthy nurturing, because a spouse should be nurturing. Shouldn't be your mom, but should be nurturing, feminine, receptive energy into your life. And for women who are watching us, it's the same way. When you heal that relationship with your mom, you heal that relationship with you, but also with your future child or children that you already have. Okay, so you stayed to the end. I'm going to hop off now because I have a child upstairs. So yeah, please the others, because that's coming up, and I'm a mom, and so I want to really take time to really go deep there. And then following that, we're going to do the difference between semen retention. What is semen retention? What is no fapping? What is edging? What is tantric edging? What is tantric semen retention? How you should practice if you've never practiced, if you've thought about practicing, is it for you, why you should do it, all those things. So turn on your notifications so you can see this. And for my exclusive content of all the stuff that I get canceled for, I've been canceled on every platform multiple times, so I'm not just making this up. If you want to see the content that you can't get anywhere else, that's the juicy, the Kama Sutra, the Tantra stuff, my live retreats with real singles and couples who are coming to learn and do these practices. Patreon is the link. My editor should be putting it there at the end so you can click it. I have all kinds of tiers, affordable, everything for you. And thank y'all so much for watching, for those of you who popped on and off. And I just feel so blessed to be able to share with you the raw and real of my life, which has been so crazy, but I've learned so much from this practice. And my goal is to help inspire you, encourage you to be the most divine, ecstatic, receptive, present, vulnerable person, man or woman, that you can be, fully connected. Because If you have lasting, passionate relationships in your life, you're happy. Money or not, you're happy. Relationships, the quality of your life, we know is the quality of your intimate sexual relationships. It's a huge part of it. All right, y'all. So I will see you this weekend. Sending everyone lots of love. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. And make sure to subscribe and click the link for Patreon. Bye, loves.